So just a quick recap about exception. Exception is something an abnormal behavior you see when in a program. I mean, not you, maybe compiler or the GVM will see when it is being executed. So then the information will be conveyed to the end user in a form of exception. So how to raise this exception, how to raise a custom exception from our class, and then how to catch it if some exception happens, how to deal with it, or how to recognize by looking at a program that we need to tackle exceptions or not. So all those stuff we will be learning today, and then we will go with the next um, things. Let me share my screen. So these are certain programs which we have gone through in the previous session, and to start with, we were looking at conversion programs from dollar to INR and returning number. That is one, and this is calculated program. So where we are collecting, yeah, rupees. Yeah, here we are. When we try to execute this program will be asking for entering a number, uh, which we should be assumed like that we are entering. We should assume like we are entering rupees, and then it will be collecting the rupees and trying to calculate the dollars from the rupees. So let me try to re-execute it. Yeah, it's asking for rupees. Let me type 3000, and it's giving the approximate rupee amount. So same program, if I execute again and then pass some 4,000, 4,000, something like that. So then we are getting an exception here. So which is, as per this program, what is happening, this 4,000s which you are entering here is expected to be collected into rupees, which is a form. You see this sc.nextInt method is expecting an integer to be passed, but we are passing a string. So which is a abnormal behavior of a program, right? So then it is trying to read this text, and but it failed to read the text. So that's why you see the error at scanner class, but especially at input mismatch exception uh, from the nextInt method. So we went through the API. Let me press my screen there. The scanner class Java docs. Okay. Is the scanner Java platform SC8, so which means from the JDK version 8, they're trying to provide what scanner class is. And I'll just do Control F and go for next int method in the method summary section. Anyone has any questions? Okay.
No, Kalyan.
Okay. So next int methods, we have couple of methods. So can someone tell which method of scanner class we are consuming here? So we are calling next int without parameters, right? So we have two methods here. So which method we should be calling here? Any answers?
First one.
Yeah, correct. We're calling first method, and I mean, so this is the concept of method overloading. So when you have same named methods in a class, and we are calling with the name, so that will be totally dependent on the number of parameters and order of parameters in the class. So how we call. So if you refer to the line which I'm thinking in the chart, let me bring the line. SSE dot next int in the intro piece, then it will be calling the first method because next int method without parameters we are calling. So out of the two methods that we see here, the one is having without parameter, expecting a call from without parameters, another one is expecting by passing a integer type value as a parameter. So we're passing nothing here, so it will be the first method call happening. Yeah, apart from this discussion, let me go into this class. And then you see next int, and there will be a throws declaration in the method input mismatch exception. Okay, that is what we saw when we are passing. If the next token does not match to the integer regular expression or is out of range, so then it is going to give this exception. Let's see how to handle this exception. Okay, so to handle that exception, I'm trying to correct my code in a way by writing try catch blocks. So try block, and okay, sorry, I think my screen is not presenting right. Let me share my screen. I can show ID. Yeah, try block is expecting. Yeah, so apart from the previous code that I have, I just added these lines here. Try block. So try block should be always representing the code where there is a possibility of error. Okay, we should put the code in the try block where we know that this part of code, these lines of code could raise an exception. So in that time, we have to put those lines in the try block. So can someone tell which part of our code we can put in the try block? So not SI Kiran is already answered. Can someone else go for answering now? So, okay, let me ask the question in a different way. Which part of our code is raising an exception now, is throwing an exception now.
String, by giving the string value.
Yeah, you're right. We are passing a
Yeah.
string value. That's why we are getting exception. But my
Yes.
question is, which line number of our code is raising an exception?
9.
Uh, Line number 9.
Yeah.
Okay. Sure.
I think yes. Rupees.
Sorry, Saikari.
Yes, yes. I think 9.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, this is another important thing you should be keeping in mind. So if you are in a real-time environment and if you face some error, so most of the times you will get to know which part of the code is causing this error. Okay, from so how you will get to know by looking at the exception. By
Okay.
looking at the exception. So in the code here, it is mentioned that exception. So you have to thoroughly read the exception to know where the problem is happening. So to understand that right now, exception in thread main, Java util input mismatch exception. This input mismatch exception is something which is raised from which class? So this is from scanner class and nextInt method. Okay,
Mhm.
that is coming from nextInt method, but it is not written here. And in the next line you see here, so scanner throw for in the scanner 947 Java. So let me quickly go to this class if I can see this 947. So how we can go to this class? I have told other way of going through the classes of Java classes through IntelliJ. So when you hold your control and then click on the scanner, you will be going to this class in the IntelliJ. I don't know, it will directly allow in Eclipse to go like that. So that's why I was recommending to install IntelliJ to see the code like this. So this is a standard Java class. This is not something custom so that we can directly see in our IDE. So in the Eclipse, if you want to see this, you have to have some plugins. That's something you can explore, how to see this code from Eclipse. So this we call it as decompiling the code. Okay. So we'll come to the decompiling part later. So to focus on this error. So we see scanner.java 947. Let me go to line number 947, the scanner.java. Okay, 947. Yeah, you see here, throw for it is showing that Java util dot scanner. Java util is something a package. Okay, and scanner is a class. Throw for is a method. So that is here. And the line number that I've mentioned, scanner.java 947. So which is input mismatch exception. Okay. And what is the next line is indicating? A Java base Java util scanner next method is being called, which is at 1602. So let's go to 1602. I think there should be some shortcut to search for line number here. Indirectly there. Yeah, you see 1602. This method, next method is here. So which means that the call has come to this next method, okay, during the program execution, and all this code has been executed. At line 1602, there is a call to throw for method, and it went to there, and then it is executed this input mismatch exception. So where it went, because we have to find a link how our program reached here. Okay, so like that we have to go each line. So then you see, if you see this one throw for, and then when you click on 1602, it will show that, and then when you click on 2267, it will show next method, and then next method is of which class, is of next int method. um, then when I click on, you see we have observed, right, there is a parameter based next int method. So that method is not called from our code. Let's say 222221. So this next int method is being called from the program. So the flow is like this. Okay. Let me go to our program, which is calculated. You see next int method. When I control click on this, it is going to next int of scanner.java. Then it is going to next int method of parameter index. And then it is going to uh, a method of catch block here. You see this catch block, and the exception is raised, input mismatch exception from here. And here is the sorry. Yeah. So it went to input mismatch exception. So that is where we got the error message. Okay. So the flow is like this. Okay. The root of the problem we will be able to see in the exception only. Okay. So like it is clearly mentioned in the error or exception. So practice.calculator.main. So practice should be a package name. I hope you are able to see my IDE. Practice is a package name. Calculator is a class name, and main is the method name here. Inside that, line number 9 is giving an exception here. Okay, that is where the root of the exception. So now the question to someone else who have not answered so far. So which part of our code we should be putting in the try block? Which line of code we can put in the try block? Anyone answer this?
I think string.
No. So as I've already told and written here, so this try block should be filled with the code which throws exception. Okay. So the code which we have is scanner. Let's review the code which we have in this method. Okay. First line is scanner. So it is executing without, the problem is happening as per our exception here. Calculated Java 9. So this code which is failing to execute should be in the try block. Okay. So let me try to copy this code and then paste it in the try block. Okay. We have kept this try block. We have kept the code in the try block. Now we have some other problem. Okay. Let's see what is this problem. The compilation errors. Rupees. So this rupees variable is not recognized. We cannot resolve the symbol rupees. Why it is not resolved here? Because so this parenthesis will mean a lot in the program. Okay, this rupees variable, which the program is trying to uh, read from the program, where the rupees, let's see where the rupees variable is available in the program. So the rupees variable is available inside the try block here. Okay, so when you put a flower braces and you write something there, this variable and with a data type, so this variable is not available outside this flower braces, right? So that is why our code is not able to read the rupees variable, because there is no rupees variable outside this flower braces. To read this rupees, I mean, to get this access to rupees variable, what we have to do, we have to declare some variable outside this try block. Okay, and let's try to initialize with this 0. That resolved the problem. Okay, but now we have some other error. What is this? Variable rupees is already defined in the scope. As you declared rupees outside this flower bracket, that is available for the code which is inside the flower brace. But if you declare a variable inside the flower braces, so you will not be able to access that variable outside the flower brace. So that is a problem again now. So to resolve this problem, what we have to do is declaration should be avoided inside the code. If we just remove, because we have declared that in rupees variable is of type integer and we are assigning some value. So you can assign some value outside this for I mean in the code somewhere. I mean you can assign any value to this rupees anywhere and read this rupees variable anywhere. But the thing is you cannot rename, I mean you cannot put a rupees variable name for some other parameter again. Because what we are doing here is you have declared integer type rupees is equal to 0, and again you are trying to declare integer type rupees, which is a kind of duplicate stuff, right? So just to avoid, we need to, we should not declare integer here. So which means we are declaring rupees variable with 0, and then in the try block we are assigning some other value to it. So that is how we have to solve these problems. And then the next problem is with the syntax, basically. So try block cannot be alone in our program. Okay, either we should have catch, so the error says here, catch or finally expected. Okay, so this might be a question, a very basic question to understand whether you have Java experience or not. So they might ask you like, can we execute the code without try block? Sorry, without catch block in the program. Okay, I mean, can we execute the code with alone try block in the code? Just a second. So yeah, the answer I can say, you cannot execute the code with alone try block in the code. Okay, you have to have try with a combination of either catch and you have to write the exception name. What is the exception that our code will be throwing off? Can anyone answer?
Mismatch.
Yeah, you see here, input mismatch exception. So that is something I'm just simply copying it from here. I think I can write intelligible solutions. Input mismatch exception. Okay. This is a type. Okay. The input mismatch exception is again some class here. So we should not feel something, what is the string again? So when you click on this, you see this, there is a input mismatch exception.java. Okay. So let me go to Chrome browser again and show the docs of input mismatch exception. So where we have seen the scanner class previously, same way, same place. I'm just going to Google and typing input mismatch exception Java docs. Okay, then you will see it. So this is again a class. Okay, class input mismatch exception. This is the hierarchy of this class. Okay, you see input mismatch exception is a child of no such element exception, child of runtime exception, child of exception, child of throwable, and child of object. So this is a class hierarchy you will be able to see when you go to your Java docs. And let's see what are the constructors in it. We have no argument constructor and we have an argumented constructor where they are expecting string as a parameter. And if you go down to the method summary, so all the methods inherited from throwable. So what is inherited? I think you might have basic English terminology. You should not be worried about. Inherited it's something like um, we can say um, if you know about Telugu, I mean everyone is Telugu here, right? Anyone else who cannot
Yes.
understand Telugu? No, right? Okay. So here we say inherited is something like Vamsha Paramparyam. We say like which comes from our parents, right? So that is what it means. Like methods inherited from throwable. Okay. So you see throwable is a parent of this input mismatch exception. So whatever methods that are available in the throwable class, let me click on throwable. And throwable is something a class here which is extending Java which is in the package of java.lang. So whatever method summary that are available in the throwable class, all these methods will be available for input mismatch exception. That is what they have written here. So they have written add suppressed, fill instant trace, get cause. You go to this class, you will see all those methods. Add support, fill stack trace, get cause, something like that. Okay. And the methods inherited from java.lang.object. So java.lang.object is a parent or superior parent of all the classes in the Java environment. The object is, I can say, object class is a god for all the classes in the Java. So every class which you see, so that must be implementing or extended from object class. Okay, and all the childs will have the methods of the object class. Okay, we'll come to this inheritance interfaces, how these things will be working down the line. So just to understand, just to go back to our discussion. So we should not be worried what is being written in the catch block parenthesis. So that's why I've explained this. Let me go to IntelliJ again. So when you go here, so this is also a simple Java class. So what I'm doing here, so there is like input mismatch exception class name, and we have to define a variable for this class name. Okay, just I'm writing IME here. Okay, and then I'm trying to print something like invalid rupees. Invalid number, something like that. I will do it. Okay. So this is how the exception should be handled. Okay. So we know that SC nextInt might raise an exception if the proper string is not passed to it. Okay. And we have kept that code in the try block. And what try block will do when an exception is raised from this block, so it will see if there are any catches handling these exceptions. Okay. So if we are throwing input mismatch exception and catch is ready to handle it, okay, then the exception will be captured by IME variable. And yeah, we can also do or call any methods of IME variable. I'll come to that. But for now, I'm directly just printing invalid number string to the console. Okay. So let me execute this code. I need to enter rupees. So I can say 10,000. See here the difference between this program and previous program. When we are not handling the exception, so the console looks like a console is giving all the exceptions, hierarchy, how this problem has happened, something like that. Okay. And now the exception is handled by the try and catch block. So that is why when you get value as 10,000s, okay, and it's not able to convert that into number, so then it is giving invalid number, and the program is continuing to execute. Okay, what was happening previously? If an exception is raised, the program is stuck there. So we were not able to see these dollars or rupees approximate for rupees approximately 0 or 0. This text we are not seeing. I mean, which means that this this line of code is not being executed. I mean, not only this line, whatever lines after our code where the exception is raised, those lines will not be executed if you are not handling the exceptions. But when we handle the exceptions, possible exceptions from the code, then our exception is being handled and then our code is continuing to execute. This is totally up to us who is developing the code. So how they want to deal with the code. So if they want to raise an exception and let the user to read the standard exception, they can leave as it is. And if you want to handle that exception and show the user some custom text or custom message that the programmer want to show, so that message they can also formulate by handling it try catch. Okay. And there is another block called finally. So this finally block is something like a default block, I can say. So it doesn't care whether an exception is raised from the try block or not. It will still be executing in all the cases. Okay. So let's simple thing. Like executing from finally. Let me try to execute it. Now it's asking for rupees value. I'm entering 10,000 rupees and enter. So if you observe the print lines here, So enter rupees, which is 10,000 we entered, and executing from finally block. And after this code is being executed, our code, see, you see, our if you see the line of code, which is 12 number line code, sorry, 12 line code is being executed, like enter rupees, and then we have entered the number like 10,000. And after that, the catch block is not executed. Can anyone answer why the catch block is not executed now? Because invalid number is not printed. Why is that happening? So are you guys following, or you have any severe issues so far? Don't hesitate, because this is an important stuff.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Okay. The question is, we have written a code of line 14 here, right? System.out.println invalid number.
Yes,
Why is this invalid number code is not executed here? It's not printed in the console. So
because it's a valid entry, so it did not went to the catch block. It went to the next that point. That cursor went to the finally block.
yes, excellent. So that is what we were discussing, right? So we have, so overall exception handling has only 3 blocks. Okay, try, catch, and finally. You see this try, catch, and finally. So far, just before executing this code, I have covered until try block and catch block, and added finally block now. So the possible code, the error code, the code which is possible to throw an error, we will be putting in the try block. And when we are handling exceptions for any code, we'll be writing that code in the catch block. And if you want to write any default logic, irrespective of the exception is occurring or exception is not occurring, so then we have to go for the code in the finally block. So that is what is written here. So in this case of execution, 10,000 is a valid number, and that is why exception is not thrown from the line 12. Okay, if any exception is thrown from line 12, then there is a work for catch block. Until then, catch block will be like a dummy code. Okay, so the compiler won't care what is there in the catch block. But finally, block story is different. So it will be executed irrespective. The try block will be throwing an exception or not. Okay. So that is all the story. So let me try to execute this code again one more time. So now someone should be ready with the answer that I'm asking now. I'm going to enter like number 3. Once I enter now, what will be the output of this program? Can someone tell?
Invalid number. Invalid number.
Okay.
Invalid number.
Yeah. Then after that, what will be printing?
Finally
Mismatch.
executing for finally block.
Okay. Good. Yeah. Why is that happening? Himabindu, maybe we'll go with someone else. Sorry for that. Why is the finally, I mean, why the executing from finally block will be coming? Let me try to execute. Except Himabindu, someone else. Why this code is printed? No answers?
It is going step by step. First step, it executed. If the cursor will come to the step 10 and it is rupees, next it went to that step 12 and read the number. Then it got the invalid. So directly from the step 12, it directly went to the, I mean, that is not catch, so invalid. So directly went to the step 15, let finally block and printed the whatever the matrix.
Yeah.
Sorry, but yeah, catch block. Sorry, reverse actually. It
Okay.
got the
Yeah.
invalid, so it went
Got
to the
it.
catch block, and after the catch block, the next line is finally. So it went automatically went to the 15th line after 14.
Yes. Correct. So as I told, final block don't care what whether try block throws exception or not. Okay. In the last couple of attempts that we executed the program, so the finally block is keep on executing continuously. Okay. So this block doesn't care whether the exception is raised in the try block or not. Okay. So here in the try block, if an exception is raised, then the flow will go to catch block. If the exception is not raised, then the flow won't go to catch block. So that is for catch block. But that is not the case for finally block. If the exception is raised or not raised, the finally block will keep on executing. Okay. Preferably, this finally block will be used to close the resources. Resources means suppose if we are enabling a connection to the database. Okay. So we basically write the connection code in the try block. Okay. Like let me show a simple diagram for you guys.
Kalyan, are we able to put the debug points and execute each line here, or do we need any
Yeah,
software to put the
we
debug?
can execute. See, when you right click here.
You're not sharing the screen.
Okay. So let me put the line debugger at line number 8. Okay. And so this debug point indicates the software to be stopped at the point where you kept the debugger. Okay. So right click and you see this debug calculator dot main method. So when I execute this, it's trying to start the debugger. Just allow access. This is a simple security check. You can click on allow access. So then the flow has come here. Okay. Now the program is executing. And you see here in the main calculator practice flow and thread is of this one. Args is something a variable which we see here. So until there it is executed. Next, you see there is option here. So these are very important in your real world. So I'm explaining the debug, how to handle with the debugger and how to see the code line by line here. You can have this as your reference for your later issues which you face or in your job. So this is very basic things you have to be aware when you go into or when you land into any job. Okay. So that's why I'm covering it. Thanks for remembering it. Let me click on this one. You see this step over F8.
Okay.
Yeah. F8 is a shortcut. You can click F8 or step over. Okay. Step over means, I think this will this will try to jump to the next debug point. Okay. In the code, if we have any other debug point, suppose I kept rupees, when you click on this, then it will directly go to the next debug point. Oh, not, sorry. I think step into, step out. Okay, this is going each line, is it? Okay, okay. Yes. Yeah, let me go here, try to execute the program and re-trigger it. Okay, got it now. So this will be different steps for each environment. Even I'm new for IntelliJ, so that's why this glitch. Let me restart it. Restart the steps.
So, I know that is running. It's already is running. If you click that red button on the top, that block, then that application will stop running.
Yes, yes. Yeah, let me try to execute this again. So when you click on debug calculator main, so then the flow will be coming the first line. So out of these buttons here, the first thing is how to go to each line of the code. So that is what we call it as step over. Okay. Step over, when you click on it, it will be navigating. So these shortcuts will be different for Eclipse. Okay. So you should not be confusing with F8 in Eclipse. Okay. But the terms will be common. Step over means terms will be almost common, but you have to also take care of that when you execute it. But almost when you see for step over, which means that each line execution. Okay. So when you click on step over, it will be going to each line. So 8, 9. So then it is showing rupees variable after this line execution. So the line 10 has been executed. That's why we see rupees is equal to 0. And then it came to line 12, which is where we are trying to assign a variable. If I click on step over, it has to go to the next line. So before it goes to next line, I mean, it is kind of executing, right? When it is executing, application is running. So basically what this particular line is doing, it's asking a value or input from from us, from the console. Okay, so that's why we need to enter some value and hit enter. Okay, after you enter the after you entered 10 and hit enter, so then the code flow directly jumped into line 16 because 10 is a valid number and there is no exception raised from line number 10. So then it came directly to the finally block. So when I try to step over, the finally block is executed. Executing the finally block is printed. Then if you try to hit step over, it is directly going to the get dollars method, and step over again, get dollars method is executed, and the last line will be printed after if you do step over again. So which is dollars to for approximately dollars for 10 rupees is approximately 0. Okay, and then to stop this debugging, I can or you can also stop here or rerun the debugging if you want. Okay, so let me rerun it. So this time I'll see, I will show what is this step into button. Okay, step into is basically if you have a method. Okay, let me directly come to this line. So there are two debug points here. If you want to switch directly to the next debug point, you have to click on this resume program so that if it will go to the next debugger. So that's why I'm clicking F9. So from line number 8, it should directly come to line number 18. But in the middle, it is stopped because at line number 12, we are asking for input. So that input we have to enter to move forward. Okay. And after we enter the input, so it is executed the finally block and it came out of the finally block and it is stopped here because we have a debug point here. So right now we have a get dollars method. Okay, the step into method usage is when you click on this one now, step into, the code, the flow will go into this get dollars method. But if you click on step over, it will just go to line number 19. And when you click on step into, it will go into line number 23. So let me click step into, right? So the code has been executing from get dollars method. But if you want to come out of this method again, step out, you have to click that. And then if you want to go to the next line, which is step over, and stop the execution, let the program to be executed. So that's what we have done. Hope everyone is clear. We'll be doing this debugging now and then repeatedly. We'll ask the questions later on. But if you have any questions, you can let me know. Okay. So to move forward, now, yeah, I was going with some explanation, right, about the finally block. So hope you can see my screen, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So this is simple term. So when you go to real world, your Java program should be communicating with database, right? So that time you should be establishing a connection to the database. Okay. This connection to the database is kind of wire. I mean, some wire connection. Let's assume that. So suppose if I start a program to connect to the database, and there will be a connection available to the database. And then if someone else is joining, if someone else is executing the program, again, another connection is going to establish to database. So that way, there will be a lot of connections will be created to the database from our Java program, right? So like this, like this. So assume like if 10,000 users are using the same application, there will be 10,000 connections will be connected to the database. So if we try to leave the connections as it is, and if someone is forgets, I mean, if our in our program, if we forget to handle the connection closure, I mean, by removing the connections to the database, then it will be a problem for the database to handle later requests. So that is why in our code, we will be handling our finally, we will be using our finally block for that. Okay. So let me go to code. So in that case, let's see if I open a connection in the try block, okay, and then if I try to handle, I mean, try to close it in the finally block. So it will be easy thing, right? We don't need to worry about connection closure at every program, every time you write the program or every time the program is executing. So the finally block will take care of it to execute this by default. Okay. So that is most probably we will use finally block in a real-time environment. And the catch block is when you have to handle the exceptions. Okay. So I think so far it should be good. Any problems? Any doubts? Let me take a screenshot of this program and then put it. And then DP picture. Okay. Then let's go to throw and throws keywords. Sorry. Okay. Okay, dollars. Okay. Mhm. What we can do is okay, let me go to the main class here. Mhm. Okay, right. Even even number class main method is even method private static boolean is even. So anyone know what is boolean? Can anyone tell if you have any idea? Hello?
0.8 something like that dots, right?
No, no. That is decimal part, which is double. Yeah, we have not covered it so far. Boolean will represent a true or false. Okay. So double is something like to represent decimal values. We will use Boolean to capture either true or false value. Just that. Okay. So just a suggestion from my side, if you face any terminologies and if some questions during your interviews or when you're learning Java, if you see some unknown terminologies which we have not covered in the session, so don't be afraid of, have a note of them and bring that to me my note bring that to my notice, because this is a fast course, so we might not be covering all Java stuff here in like 5-6 hours. It is very impossible, but I'm trying to put whatever maximum content that you can be going through and whatever maximum content that is necessary for you guys for to start with the interviews. Okay, so this process will be continuing to learn Java, and I mean even after completing the training, even after joining your job, and even after switching your job. So this is a kind of continuous process. So you have to keep in mind that you should not lose your confidence at any point. Like these terminologies we might not heard, this is basic stuff we might not got from, we have not received from the training. So such feeling you should never have. So whatever you face it, uh, just have a note of them. Try to Google it. If you can understand, that should be fine. Otherwise, you can bring to my notice through the WhatsApp chat or somewhere. Or during our sessions, because we will be also communicating further after these sessions, um, like what I can say, like interview preparation sessions or resume building sessions. Whenever you see any terminologies which you are not familiar with, so you can bring to my notice. We will just have a understanding on that and move forward. Okay. So you don't need to worry if you face any such cases. To move forward here, I'm taking a number and return like I'm getting a boolean data type of value which is false by default and defining a variable value as false. And then writing a if block, if number percentile. Percentile is something output of this code. If you divide a number by number 2, if it is, I mean, whatever you get quotient will be captured by divided by values. Here, suppose if I enter 10 by 2, which is 5. Okay. If I write 10 by 10 percentile 2, then anyone has any idea about this? 10 percentile 2, what will be the output of it? Let me ask someone. Datta,
Yeah, correct.
what will be the output of 10 percentile 2? Do you know?
10 percentile too. Yeah,
In Java.
in Java. So, mhm. So
Okay.
if
Yeah.
you ask me about the example or meaning,
Yeah. I'm just asking what will be the output if Java program executes 10 percentile 2?
0.
Yeah.
0. Yeah.
Yeah. So here, yeah, whenever you see divided by, you know, in mathematics, what is the output, right? So it's going to give us the quotient of it, right? And if you percentile is something we might not see, mm, or we might not heard very familiarly in the mathematics. So percentile execution will return us the remainder of it. Okay. If you divide 10 with 2 and whatever the reminder that we are getting, so that you will get output of by executing 10 percentile 2. So that's why I'm doing number percentile 2 here. If that is equals to 0, then I'm populating value as in all the other cases, value will be false. Hence, I'm returning value from here. This is why if statement can be simplified. We might not want to this. Okay. Hmm. Divided by 0, right? Hmm. Okay. Let me try to execute this code. Okay, it's asking for arguments. Put scanner. SC is equal to new scanner. System.in. Just importing scanner class. Then passing next int. Trying to execute this code. Oh, should be asking a number without a print statement. And it's not returning whatever it is. So let me write this out. Enter number. Okay, I'm entering 55, which is false. Okay. Is 55 even? Okay. So enter the number. I'm entering 7. Is the number even, which is false? Okay. So this is a general program. I'm trying to show you what is true and what is throws. Now, let's assume this program want to calculate, is program want to support just numbers up to 100. Okay. Okay, if you enter only 1 to 100, then only you have to validate if that is even number or not. If you enter any number other than this, so it should not validate. It should throw an exception. So that is the requirement. Okay. Then I'll be writing a condition. If number greater than or equal to 1 and number less than or equal to 100, sorry, else throw new exception. The number is not in the required range. So you see here, this is a throw keyword. So now we are trying to understand, hope everyone is here. Any, yeah, yeah, now we're trying to understand throw and throws keywords. Okay. So here I have written throw keyword. So what is throw keyword indicates? Throw indicates that where we have to write a throw is wherever we need to raise an exception. So we can use throw keyword. Okay. And throws keyword is something we have to write if at all we need to handle an, I mean, if we need to declare an exception in the method signature. Okay, there we have to write throws keyword. Throws to declare an exception. Let me put it here in the explanation. Okay. Yeah, let me try to execute this program. Oh. There is an error here. Throws exception. Executing the code. I'm entering 110. See, we are able to throw an exception from our side. Okay, number is not in the required range. So this text is coming from our exception constructor. Okay, exception is again a class where it is having a constructor which is accepting a string message, right? So we are using that constructor to throw a custom exception, okay, from our code. And then we are handling it with throws, okay? So this is also one more important interview question. So people will be asking what is the difference between throw and throws. So it's not something question that we need to uh, uh, debug and understand much. It's a basic terminology difference. Just to check whether you have an exposure to Java environment during your experience before. So they might be throwing this question to you. So you have to understand this difference. That should be enough. So throw is basically keyword in Java which we use wherever we are planning to raise an exception, then we use throw keyword. Throws keyword is basically a indication, a keyword we use in the method signature, which indicates that this is even method might raise an exception of type exception. Okay. Let me write some other name. Just over it. Runtime exception. Okay. So which indicates that is even method might throw a runtime exception. So that's why we're writing throw using throws keyword in the method signature. So that's a difference you have to be aware of. So throw, wherever you see throw in the code, so we have also seen it in the previous method, right? When you go into this next int logic and next int code, you see here throw new input mismatch exception, right? Which they're passing a message into this class, and this method is not declared throws keyword here because input mismatch exception is of type, as we have seen, is of type runtime exception. So runtime exceptions you don't need to declare because we call them as unchecked exceptions. So there is a difference again called checked and unchecked exceptions. Unchecked exceptions, we don't need to define them in the method signature. Okay, compiler will accept them. But if you are trying to throw a checked exception, then you have to mention it in the method signature. So that's another interview question. What is the difference between checked and unchecked exception?